Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're here at the NAMM show, OT 13. I'm here with Paul Reed Smith, and we've discovered something very unique about each other, that we're really canines at heart. How do you feel about that?
Speak for yourself.
Let that be a lesson to you. And what we really said is that we're about to show you a new splendiferous guitar morsel.
That says, if you come into your house, you're going to eat them for lunch, and I'm the terrier is not going to let go of the leg, right?
Well, once, rest assured, in either scenario, home security is assured, and I think that's important. Now, you are holding a new weapon of the night with one of my favorite guitar players of all time, Brent Mason, a plectrum-wielding prestidigitator of the highest order. And you're in league with this individual, obviously.
Prestidigitator? What was that?
That's right. That's kind of a tongue
Is
twister.
that like a double red-breasted mattress thrasher?
It is, but in thumb pick form.
Okay.
And that's
okay.
important. Now, he couldn't make it here because of some kind of unseemly, wintry situation in Nash Vegas, right?
That's right.
Some kind of ice onslaught. But yet, his guitar remains here, and it's one of the things that you're showing this year at NAMM. I was just hearing it earlier. Mike Alt was treating it like a farm animal, and I got to tell you, it sounds sublime.
All right, a timeout. That was awesome. All right, so Michael, come here. This is my friend Michael Alt, treating it like a farm animal.
Also a plectrum-wielding skullduggerist to the highest order.
On the YouTube. You got that part? We're not going to edit this. Okay, good. You can go back where you came from, a whole lot of it. So here's the Brent Mason guitar. And Brent really, really likes this guitar. The quote was something either it was the best electric guitar he'd ever heard in his life or equivalent to the best one, right? And he's put his name on this thing, which is a big deal for Brent Mason. So the way it works is there are two 408 pickups, and then we put these in his collection guitars that we made. And when you hit these switches, it disconnects the slug coil and adds 1,500 turns to the
single coil.
It's a single coil, so there's no volume loss, and it's single coil.
That's very cool.
And we also have a little part that we stick in the 408 guitars that makes the guitar ever so slightly sweeter, but he wanted that high-end bite that Atelier had.
Sure.
So we took it out of all weird things, right? This is a wonderful instrument. We're going to sell a ton of these things.
And this is Carina, if I'm not mistaken?
This is Carina, and the neckwood's maple, but we have figured out a way to make the finish in the wood. So imagine for a second that you would soak the neck in super glue and it would harden, right? This is not super glue. This is a polyester kick jelly that we put in there. But literally the finish is in the wood. It's like case hardening. It just feels wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the finish is in the wood, and it's like a guitar that's been played for 30 years, except it's not all greasy and brown.
And filled with poi.
Yeah.
As it were.
What is poi?
It's some kind of Hawaiian grout that people consume. Apparently it's good for your colon, but I don't judge. That's kind of how I roll. But this is fascinating because this pickup scenario has obviously existed for... Sorry, the power of caffeine compels us all, and me a little bit more so.
I don't think caffeine's got anything to do with your sense of humor. I think this is a constant.
Well, you do what you can.
Look, I don't get to watch all your videos. You've made how many videos?
2,000-ish for the Wildwood folks.
All right, so I'm sure you've said some off-color things before. Some of these
well, it's like
videos.
nonstop. I'm doing these guitars all day long. It's like one right after another, and I'm not even cognizant of the filth, really, that flows like a cauldron of wrongdoing.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Once again, I got up a little.
This is a good guitar.
It's a magnificent guitar.
Other guitars?
How many colors does this come in? Does it come in some kind of a...
There are 4 or 5 colors that Brent approved. He actually wants this guitar, and it's been sold, and I'm going to have to figure out how to rip it out of the dealer's hands. Maybe I'll have to buy it back or something. You make an artist a promise, you got to keep it.
Absolutely. I like that kind of talk. Now, how about, I played through that 30-watt HXDA. Now, that's something new. The amplifier itself isn't new, but the combo and the 30-watt thing is
HXDA, we got our hands on Dwayne Allman's amp that he used live at the Fillmore. And
the greatest record of all time, let's just be clear. One of them, anyway. It's up there.
Oh, it's up there. It's hard to argue with Dark Side of the Moon and some other extraordinary CDs.
But that's the way you like to roll.
Look, I like live at the Fillmore. It's fine. I love the record, but it doesn't really. What happens? We got our hands on that amp, and that thing does that tone. And we figured out if we lowered the amount of amperage going to the tubes, the output tubes, we could lower it down to 30 watts without changing the tube. So it's got EL34s in it, and it's only 30 watts. It's a wonderful sounding amp.
And let's talk about, like, when you listen to Live at the Fillmore and Dwayne turns the volume down on his Les Paul, it's like
Yeah.
the greatest clean tone ever, and he turns it up, and of course, it's
The
just
amp
pure
does it
viscosity.
fine.
It does it exactly. That's what people don't understand. You can go straight in, turn the volume down, old school channel switching, greatest rhythm sound, turn it up, and it's like stand clear and stand firm.
All right, so we are making an amp of all bad names. It's called Paul's amp. But you got to remember that Sweet Home Alabama and the police records were played through Marshall. Right?
Absolutely.
So we put a switch on it, which are those three parts between a clean one and a dirty one, right? So now we have a single channel amp, which you can change the gain structure in the amp,
Increment.
and it'll get crystal clear, and then it will also do that really thick, almost Eric Johnson kind of
Viscosity.
Yeah, right. That's it. You're full of adjectives.
Well, I had a very troubling youth involving dictionaries and never mind. And that's a 100-watt device, or does Paul's amp come in various different reverberations?
You can get it in 100 watt, but they come in 50 watt. But what's interesting, it's got a 100 watt rail in it. So everybody knows that 50s and 100s sound different. But if you take two tubes out of 100, it still sounds like 100.
Right. That's true.
Okay, so that's something else is different, right? We figured out what that was and put it in the amp. It's the only 50 I've ever heard sounds like 100.
That's very interesting, because I used to do that with my 100-watt Marshall. Take the two, and I would swear it sounded different from a regular 50-watt. And so I was not high on crack at that point in time, is what you're telling me.
No, you weren't.
Not that you know of. What else new devices do we have?
I
We
know
got
a
some.
guy who, somebody was doing this in his chest, and the guy said, and he said, stop it. And the guy wouldn't stop it, he broke his finger.
That's not nice.
Yeah, well, your finger was that close to mine.
You got to know when to say when. You got to know where the line is being crossed, and then pull back.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
All right, good. So let's do the next guitar. You want to see a Paul's guitar for a second?
Yeah, let's
Michael?
see that glorious weapon.
All right, so what happened is I've been playing these private stock guitars with these brushstroke birds. From a distance, these look like birds, but really close up, they're like brushstrokes, right? And we decided to make this guitar on the line as well as in private stock. And this is going very well for us. We're selling a lot of these. It's actually on the cover of Upbeat Daily this morning, this guitar. Did you see it?
Nicely done.
Yeah. So also notice there are these little brass inserts in the bridge that change the tone of the bridge. Did you
Wow,
see that?
indeed.
So it's like you get the tone of an all brass bridge without all the weight. Right? One of the reasons we don't use all brass is when you take the strings off, it goes like this and dents the guitar. It just weighs too much, right? But this thing works like a charm.
It looks glorious.
So we have some other guitars. We got Neil Sean guitars.
Right.
We've got a 14 and a 15.
And that's kind of a larger bodied
Uh-huh.
morsel.
So we'll just take the 15. Michael, you good?
Here it comes.
By the way, we're getting help from Michael Alt, our demonstrator here at PRS Guitars.
Guitar demon, we might add.
Well, he's our version of you.
I like it. He just needs to go.
That's a compliment for both of you.
He just needs to lose a little bit more hair, and then we're going to be rocking with that.
Well, you cover that with a hat.
I do, see? But I'm not afraid to show it. It's not a complete desert up there, but you know what? This just helps take about 10 years off right there.
That's what it takes. I'm working on it too over here.
So Neil's been using Floyd's his whole life, and we had a new nut made for this so that it was rounded and wasn't so dangerous to anything. But it's a hollowed out guitar with different F-holes. We've moved the neck out a little bit. We've changed the neck joint. The 14 has a much more sculpted neck joint. We're really pleased with these guitars. He's
Beautiful.
using them on tour. He loves them. You wouldn't think of Neil as a hollow body guy, but he's a musician, right? He wants that big, beautiful tone through the PA, and if the hollow part gives him just a little bit more resonance, it's almost like adding a sustainer to
Yeah,
it.
what kind of top is that on there?
This is a spruce top.
That's what I thought.
That's a spruce top and a curly maple back. The other one has a curly maple top and a curly maple back.
And are those available without the Floyd in
Well,
case you
it's
just...
private stock right now, but eventually he's starting to press for a stop tail, so we'll see how it goes. Yeah. Look, I found out why Journey is Journey, and he just doesn't stop pressing. And it's not that he makes you angry. I mean, my head was red at one point at a meeting we had. I wasn't angry. I said, Neil, my head's red. I'm not angry. You got to back off. He cracked up. He knows who he is. He's a very, very, very bright, good musician. He's got a wonderful tone in his hands. When he was playing here the other day, it sounds like Neil from Second One. Right?
Indeed. Nicely played, sir. Nicely played. So is that all of the guitars for the new
Well,
ones?
wait a minute.
Wait a minute. Steady,
Gary,
stand clear.
Gary, come on. This is Gary Granger.
Who is, of course, one of my favorites of all time. We talked to you yesterday. Gary, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
You're gonna have to
Excellent.
talk loud because we're wearing the mics.
Yeah.
He's got that new bass of doom that he's come up with.
Well, actually, very interesting. So we've been promising Gary for a dozen years that we would finally release his private stock bass in our regular production, and this is the year that we finally kept our promise. It's probably 6 years late, but we're finally doing it. What's interesting is that Rhonda Smith and Wizard and Eddie and now Alex and all these guys are all starting to play these basses. They want to support this. And the group of bass players that was here at the press conference yesterday, I thought was extraordinary, and a couple more got added yesterday. It's just
Excellent.
going very well.
That's good.
When Alex Al walked in, he says, I like this. I like this a lot. It was very cool. I mean, they're supporting this instrument, and I think there's a real desire for the preamp to have this kind of clarity in rigs. Very often the preamp will have a bass note you can't get away from. This thing doesn't have that. It's got this wide open tone. You can pretty much get anything out of it.
Out of different tones. Indeed.
He's also got it set up that he can play jazz and he can play funk without changing the tone controls, which is a whole nother ballgame. A friend of ours, Josh Florian, did the design for this preamp in terms of its electronic circuit, and we just all flavors are happy in that case.
Excellent.
It's always a lovely piece of art, too.
Absolutely, it's beautiful.
80% of information is brought in with people's eyeballs. But in the end, how it sounds and how it feels is really important to a musician.
Absolutely.
I mean, they go, God, that's gorgeous. Can I try it?
Right.
So, it's got to pass all three tests, how it sounds, how it feels, and how it looks.
Indeed. It's a glorious looking device. Of course, we know it sounds good, especially in the hands of the Grangernator.
Well, now hang on a minute. The Grangernator, that's good. I like that. It's
All right,
Granger
right.
with a Granger in it. That's good. But if he didn't like the way this thing played or sounded, or how it felt, or how the neck angle was on stuff, he would be on my ass. That's just a fact. And I've been there before with him. We worked on this design for 12 years, and there's teeny little things about the prototypes that we're going to change when we get back. I mean, this is going to be in a constant update. People don't know that Leo Fender changed the circuits in his amps almost every day. He was driving the production people crazy because he wanted it better and better and better. Here he's the same way. And my answer to him every time is, we'll get it fixed right now. We'll get it changed right now.
Excellent.
And he does it.
That's good.
So I should have brought the old one, the first one.
All right, fair enough. Gary plays with a ramp, and Gary also plays with a pick guard here so that there's less distance between the string and the body. This one doesn't have it. He wants that as an option. Those kinds of things all have to
I gotcha.
A ramp is a mechanical, grab the other bass, Gary. Can you grab the other bass? It's a mechanical compressor. You ever seen one of these things?
I have not.
Like, so when somebody's playing bass, if you can dig too hard into the string, it really, it would make 6 or 8 or 10 dB louder, right?
Right.
And so these guys have invented this thing called a ramp, which is a mechanical compressor. You can't play the string any harder than you can dig in.
Oh.
And it just makes things, even without the compression thing, it's wonderful.
Very interesting.
So this is his second private stock bass. The first one, pretty beat to shit.
Well, I had a 4-string, but it disappeared.
Yeah, Rhonda Smith took his 4-string.
Mhm.
He gave my guitar to Randy Bowen, who's the MD for Jill Scott. This has been a constant, ongoing story. Actually, the story itself was worth every penny.
That's good.
All right, so that's pretty much what's going on.
All right. Well, thanks so much for spending time with us as usual. And awesome stuff, my friend.
All right, see ya.
Greg Koch for Wildwood with Paul Reed Smith.